the blood of Oedipus, and suffering which is his destiny is our punishment too, the sentence passed on all his children. Physical pain, contempt, insults, every kind of dishonor. We've seen them all and endured them all, the two of us. But there's more to come. Now, today, have you heard it? This new proclamation which the king has made to the whole city? Have you heard how those nearest to us are to be treated? With the contempt we reserve for traitors, people we love.
No one has told me anything, Antigone. I have heard nothing, neither good nor bad, about anyone we love. Not since the battle, I mean. And the terrible news that both our brothers were dead. One day, one battle and fratricide twice over, each brother cutting down his own flesh. But the army from Argos has retreated last night. I have heard that. Nothing else to cheer me up or depress me further.
I thought you hadn't. That's why I asked you to meet me here, so we can speak without any risk of being overheard.
What is it then? More terrible news? Something black and frightening, I can see that.
Well, what do you think, Ismene? Perhaps you can guess. We have two brothers, both of them dead, and Creon has decreed that a decent burial shall be given to one, but not to the other. Eteocles apparently has already been buried, with full military honors and all the formalities due to the dead, meticulously observed, so that his rest in the underworld among the heroes is assured. But Polynices, who died in agony just as certainly as his brother did, is not to be buried at all. He is to be left lying where he fell, with no tears and no ceremonies of mourning, to stink in the open till the kites and vultures catch the scent and tear him to pieces and pick him to the bone. Left unburied, there's no rest for him in the underworld, no more than here. What a great king our Creon is, eh, sister? It's against us, you realize, and against me in particular that he has published his decree. And he'll soon be here himself to make it public to the senators and all of those who may not have heard it. He isn't bluffing. He means to act, to make it stick. The punishment for all of those who disobey his order is public stoning to death. So that's the news, and you know it now. The time has come for you too to stand up and be counted with me and show that you are worthy of the honor of being Oedipus' daughter.
Wait a minute, Antigone. Don't be so headstrong. If all this is as you say it is, what can I do? One way or the other.
Just say you will help me. Commit yourself.
To do what? Something dangerous?
Just give me a hand to lift the body. It's too heavy for me to move on my own.
To bury him, you mean? In spite of the decree?
He's my brother, and like it or not, he's yours too. I won't betray him now that he's dead. No one will ever throw that in my face.
You must be mad. Creon has publicly forbidden it.
He can't forbid me to love my brother. He has neither the right nor the power to do that.
Have you forgotten what happened to our father? Contempt and loathing from everyone, even from himself. That was his reward. And blinded too, by his own hand. And his mother-wife, as ill-matched with him as those two words are with each other, she knotted a rope and hanged herself. And now our two brothers, both in one day, caught in the same trap, claiming blood for blood and death for death, each one at the expense of the other. We are the last ones left, sister, and what a death that is promised for us, more terrible than any if we break the law by defying the king and the power of the state. Think for a moment, Antigone, please. We are women, that's all, physically weaker and barred from any political influence. How can we fight against the institutionalized strength of the male sex? They are in power and we have to obey them. This time, and maybe in worse situations than this. May God forgive me and the spirits of the dead. I have no choice. State power commands and I must do as I'm told. When you are powerless, wild gestures and heroic refusals are reserved for madmen.
Don't say anymore. I won't ask again. In fact, if you were to offer your help now, I would refuse it. Do as you please. I intend to bury my brother, and if I die in the action, I shall die in the knowledge that I have acted justly. What greater satisfaction than that, for a loving sister to embrace a loving brother, even in the grave, and to be condemned for the criminal act of seeing him at peace. Our lives are too short to waste it on men and the laws they make. The approval of the dead is everlasting, and I intend to bask in it as I lie among them. Do as you please. Live by all means. The laws you will break are not of man's making.
I reverence them, but how can I defy the unlimited power of the state? What weapons of mine are strong enough for that?
Fine, that's a good enough excuse. I'll go shovel the earth on my brother's body.
I'm frightened, Antigone. I'm frightened for you.
Don't be frightened for me. Fear for yourself.
For God's sakes, keep quiet. Don't tell anyone. I'll keep our meeting secret.
Don't you dare. You must tell everyone. Shout it in the streets. If you keep it quiet, I shall begin to hate you.
There's a fire burning in you, Antigone, but it makes me go cold just to hear you.
I'm not doing it to please you. It's for him.
This obsession will destroy you. You're certain to fail.
I have failed when I have failed, not before.
But you know it's hopeless. Why begin when you know you can't possibly succeed?
Be quiet before I begin to despise you for talking so feebly. And he will despise you too, and justly. You can go now. Go. If I'm mad, you can leave me here with my madness, which will doubtless destroy me soon enough. Death is the worst thing that can happen, and some deaths are more honorable than others.
If you've made your mind up, Antigone, it's madness. Remember, I love you. Whatever happens.
Oh, while I am alive, and no woman will get the better of me.
Look, senators, Ismene weeping for her sister.
Her face is raw with tears, flayed with misery.
Her loveliness is scarred now.
This disaster darkens her fair skin with premonitions and fears, and flushes her cheeks with anguish,
Not beauty.
And you, snake, slithering silently about my house to drink my blood in secret? I looked away, and like terrorists, you laid undercover plots to destroy me. So, do you confess your complicity in this crime, or do you protest your innocence?
Yes, I confess, if she will allow me to say so. I was fully involved, and if she is guilty, then so am I.
No, that isn't justice. I asked you for help and you refused me. So I said I didn't want you. I'd do it alone.
But now that you're in danger, Antigone, I'm proud to stand beside you in the dock.
That dead man knows who buried him. What use are people who are all word and no action?
Please, my sister, don't despise me. Let me share the honor and die with you.
Why should you claim the honor in what you are too afraid to do? One death will be more than enough. Why should you die?
Because life without you won't be worth living.
Ask Creon to protect you. He's your uncle.
Do I deserve such contempt? Do you enjoy making fun of me, sneering at my misery?
You're right. It's a reflection of my own pain. If such bitter pleasures are all I have left.
Let me help you then. It's not too late.
Save your own life. Do that for yourself without any criticism from me or envy.
For God's sakes, Antigone, will you not allow me even to share my death with my sister?
No, I won't. You chose to live while I chose to die, and that's the end of it.
But I wasn't afraid to speak. I warned you this would happen. I knew how it would be.
And the majority would agree with you, but some would be of my opinion.
But we are both in the wrong and both condemned.
No, you must live. I have been dead for a long time, inwardly. I am more than willing to pay honor to the dead and die for it.
These women are neurotic. Lunatics, the both of them. One of them going off her head before our eyes, the other one born in balance.
Well, are you surprised? Anyone would crack, the most tough-minded person under such treatment.
You lost your nerve when you allowed yourself to be influenced by her lunacy.
There's no life for me here, not without my sister.
Don't speak of her. She's as good as dead.
Will you kill the woman your son plans to marry?
There are other women. Plenty of choices for a young man. Other fields to plow.
But they're devoted to each other. You can't change love as you change your clothes.
No son of mine will marry a criminal.
Oh, Haman, if only you heard how your father insults you.
Let him hear! What does his mistress matter to me?
Lord Creon, you insult your own. They are formally betrothed.
Will you tear the woman from your own son's arms?
Death parts all lovers, sooner or later.
If that's how the land lies, the poor child's doomed.
Her death warrant sealed and delivered.
By you, gentlemen, if you remember. You heard the order, agreed with it, if not only by our silence before the criminal was known. Take them away! It's time these women learn their place in society. And there is nothing like the immediate threat of death to soften up their rhetoric and make them look reality in the face.
They can call themselves lucky. The fortunate few who live their lives never drink.
Who's
dead?
dead?
What?
The king's son, Haman. The royal blood shed by a royal hand.
His father, you mean? Or his own?
His own held the sword, but his father's actions drove it home.
The prophecy warned us.
And it all came true.
That's how things are. It's in your hands now.
The doors are opening.
Eurydice!
Eurydice,
Poor woman,
Creon's wife. Has she come here by chance? Or has she heard rumors of her son?
Gentlemen, good friends, my ears caught something of what you were saying. A few words as I opened the door. I was on my way to offer prayers to Pallas Athene. We had just drawn back the bolt when I heard a few scraps of your conversation, enough to make me fear what all mothers fear. An accident, or some disaster to those we love. I almost fainted. My ladies in waiting caught me in their arms. Please, speak it out plainly, whatever it is. I can bear it. We are bred to stoicism in this family.
Dear queen, whom we all respect, I was there. I saw it all, and I'll tell you exactly what happened. It's best to tell the truth. I went with the king, your husband, to the edge of the battlefield where we saw the body of Polynices still lying where he fell, and in a terrible state. So we prayed, first to Hecate, who haunts crossroads and tombs, then to Pluto, the king of the dead. Then we washed him, or what was left of him, and burned the remains. Then we shoveled a mound of his own Theban earth over the ashes. And when we finished, we hurried off as fast as we could to the prison cell that served as a bridal suite for the girl married to death. But before we arrived, one of the soldiers came running back to tell the king he had heard a terrible noise from inside the mountain, low and unearthly as though grief were speaking its own naked